me lads, get underway. Right welcome comes the warning. Up, up on deck, all hands obey. We're homeward bound this morning. You Tom and Dick and Joe and Jack, stand by to get your anchor. Here, boy, lay out to the mizzen gaff and loose away the spanker. Heave, heave, me souls, and four ahead. The breeze is gently blowing, and while the morn is tinged with red, we're off with sheets a-flowing. You Tom and Dick and Joe and Jack, stand by to get your anchor. Here, boys, lay out to the mizzen gaff and loose away the spanker. Once more, your windlass man, me boys, and walk her up so cheerily. Heave round and break her, there she starts, your anchor's up or nearly. You Tom and Dick and Joe and Jack, stand by to get your anchor. Here, boy, lay out to the mizzen gaff and loose away the spanker. Let's walk around, we're homeward bound. Each moment brings us nearer. So heave and haul, me hearties all, for friends and home that's dear. You Tom and Dick and Joe and Jack, stand by to get your anchor. Here, boy, lay out to the mizzen gaff and loose away the spanker. Homeward bound, a magic word, how sweet the heart's emotion. So memory strikes the magic chord afar upon the ocean. You Tom and Dick and Joe and Jack, stand by to get your anchor. Here, boy, lay out to the mizzen gaff and loose away the spanker. Then ho, for home we come, all dangers nobly braving. Look out for a welcome shout and banners proudly waving. You Tom and Dick and Joe and Jack, stand by to get your anchor. Here, boy, lay out to the mizzen gaff and loose away the spanker.
It's my brother Mike and me, with my oldest son Anthony, on this wooden trawler built in our backyard. Now it's time to set our nets. The big boats haven't got here yet, and you're out here all alone, it isn't hard. Well, the young men say that the fishing's slow, but we're catching plenty, it's the price that's low. It's either this or join the company. But if the rates they pay to those tubs of steel are the same for mine with their wooden keel, I'd rather fish these waters with just us three. Winds against us, tides against us, bad bills, and the fog leans hard against us. It's a rotten deal, but it's the best job that a man can do when his two best friends are his only crew, when his own son says he's glad to take the wheel. Well, each time we make this run, she sticks out like a big sore thumb. She's the oldest vessel on these fishing grounds, and no profit has she turned, except for all the respect we've earned, and that's still worth something in this fishing town. Well, I fish the same way on the sea that my father learned and he taught to me. For the big boats guarantee you'll get your share, but they make the rules for the work you'll do, and they'll scrap your boat and let go your crew, just to pay you steady 12 months of the year. Winds against us, tides against us, bad bills, and the fog leans hard against us. It's a rotten deal, but it's the best job that a man can do when his two best friends are his only crew, when his own son says he's glad to take the wheel. Ah, but what's this worth to me? I'd rather go out slow with dignity. No catch of mine I'll sell to foreign lands. Besides, any wage I'd make a year still couldn't pay off all this broken gear. When it's time to quit, I'll know just where I stand. Winds against us, tides against us, bad bills, and the fog leans hard against us. It's a rotten deal, but it's the best job that a man can do when his two best friends are his only crew. When his own son says he's glad to take the wheel. It's my brother Mike and me, with my oldest son Anthony, on this wooden trawler built in our backyard. Now it's time to set our nets. The big boats haven't got here yet. When you work out here alone, it isn't hard.
Well, ships may come and ships may go, as long as the seas do roll. Every sailor lad, likewise his dad, he loves that blowing bowl. Now laughs ashore they do adore one that is plump and round. When your money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. Singing, hey laddie, oh laddie, turn that capstan round and round. When money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. Well, I might take a trip on a clipper ship to China or Japan. In Asia there are ladies fair who love their sailor man. Well, Jack and Joe, alive as oh, they'll buy the girls a gown. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. Singing, hey laddie, oh laddie, turn that capstan round and round. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. When Jack's ashore, he'll make his way to some old boarding house. He's welcome in with rum and gin and fed that pork and souse. He'll spend and never offend until he's drunk on the ground. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. Singing, hey laddie, oh laddie, turn that capstan round and round. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. When Jack is old and weather beat, too old to roust about, at some rum shop they'll let him in. At 8 bells he's turned out. Well, he'll cry and he'll cry into the skies, I'll soon be homeward bound. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. Singing, hey laddie, oh laddie, turn that capstan round and round. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. Well, Jack is home, he's by the boat, a catboat with a hole. The boatyard crew, they love old Jack, until they found out what he owed. Well, the stem is rotted, centerboard trunk leaks, the mast is cracked, oh boy. Today she's up on a marine railway, tomorrow she'll be hauled away. Singing, hey laddie, oh laddie, turn that capstan round and round. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. To all of you fine mariners, wherever you may sail, when the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down. Singing, hey laddie, oh laddie, turn that capstan round and round. When the money's all gone, it's the same old song. Get up, Jack John, sit down.
Well, she's 21 feet at the waterline. She draws 3 feet in the tide. There ain't nothing wrong with her, let's start with that. Look her over, I'm going inside. She was his to begin with, she was here long before, so we kept civil company. But he changed her name to the Isabel on the day that he married me. Well, we never had money, and he just didn't care. He said money was never the plan, just a slow, sorry river and a lonerman song. And me never thinking that there once was a time when I fancied the whistling trains, when the sweetest tune was a sailor's song, and the wind skipping over the waves.
Hello, Liberty Theater. Woo!
Good evening.
Co-MCs here, Dan O'Quinn.
And Wayne Chimenti.
We want to welcome you warmly to the 28th annual Fisher Poets Gathering. So glad you're here. It'd be really weird if nobody was here. I want to thank Liberty Theater, of course, Fisher Poets Committee, Fisher Poets Gathering Committee, and of course KMUN, who is broadcasting this live tonight. Thank you all.
We'll talk about it after us.
And if you are so inspired by the poetry and stories that you hear tonight, there's a contest. They do this, they call it the umpteenth annual because they do it every year. And anybody, you don't have to be a fisherman, you can just be anybody in the audience, can make a poem and enter it. And I think it takes place right here at the end of the night. There will be a panel of judges, but there's also the audience appreciation. And each year there's a theme. The theme this year is pretty simple. Your poem has to be about commercial fishing. You get 3 breaths. You cannot say the word breath in your poem. But 3 breaths mean you can get out as much as you can before you have to take in another breath, and then you can do that 3 times and talk about commercial fishing. If it rhymes, probably even better, but Poetry doesn't have to rhyme. So if you feel inspired by what you hear or what you've heard last night or this afternoon, give it a go. And I'll turn it over to Wayno now.
Well, I just want to say that it is so great to be in Astoria. To come to Astoria, this very historic town, just on the banks of the Columbia River. You know, it's the oldest West Coast settlement that there is, and it was founded by John Jacob Astor, who was a furrier, right? From beaver pelts on down from Columbia and sea otter pelts from the coast. Lewis and Clark ended up their trip here in 1805. They spent the most miserable winter you could imagine. I don't know why, because they say Astoria is always sunny. And it was so bad that they were supposed to wait for a boat, and they turned around and they walked 2,000 miles back across the Continental Divide. But by the mid-1840s, of course, the pioneers were coming in with the Oregon Trail, and Astoria was really the port city that helped feed all. Then they discovered that there was a real attraction for all sorts of immigrants, as well as immigrants and Sikhs from India. At one time, there were a quarter of the population was Chinese. They were working the canneries while the Norwegians and the Swedes were out fishing. It was based, by 1900, it had a huge economy here based on fishing and lumber, and they established one of the largest breweries on the West Coast, the North Pacific Brewing Company. And so beer is in our blood here in Astoria. By 1945, there were 30 canneries all along the Columbia River here. And then slowly the fish diminished and the canneries were closed one by one. And in 1974, Bumblebee Tuna closed down their corporate headquarters and closed the last cannery. The lumber industry, which was the biggest employer, closed down the Astoria paper mill in 1989. Continued service to Astoria on times. All risen from disaster, Astoria now undergoes a revival based on craftsman brewing, restaurants, the arts, and tourism.
And no history of Astoria is complete without some history about the historic Liberty Theater. Opened in 1925 after the destruction of majority of the city by a fire in 1922, and the Liberty Theater was seen as symbolizing the city's rebirth. Interesting note, in 1984, the building was given National Historic status. Astoria and the Liberty, as Wayne said, underwent some hard times over the decades with the decline of fishing and lumber. But the restored Liberty, once again, stands for Astoria's revival, as it did in 1925. The new Liberty reopened for business in April of '05. In 2020, they completed the second phase of renovations. No other 1920s theater in Oregon was restored so lovingly to its original style. And of course, they have an active performing arts program for schools and shows. If you live locally, you know it's a thriving place. They got Lyle Lovett coming in here tomorrow night to play some music.
Yeah.
So, and with that, I think we can get started on our program. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, and of course the best thing that happens at the Liberty Theater is Fisher Poets Gathering. So let's get it kicked off with our first performer, and you're going to love him. Peter Monroe. He counts fish and conducts research cruises for fishing in the Bering Sea, Gulf of Alaska, and the Aleutian Islands. Then they take him back to Seattle and they chain him to a computer and make him crunch all that data. He's won numerous awards as a poet, and he is the poet laureate of the Kenmore Lanes Bowling in Kenmore. So come on up, Peter.
Yeah, Kenmore Lanes Bowling doesn't actually know they have a poet laureate, so they haven't bothered to fire me yet. So thanks to Wayne and Dano for herding the cats tonight. That's kind of a hard job, so let's give them some applause, please. And thanks to you guys for showing up. I mean, you guys are the most important part of this, so I'm going to just jump right in. I've got 2 poems tonight. The first one is a long one about catching a Pacific sleeper shark. It's a big poem. It's going to go by fast, so I need to give you a little advanced knowledge. It takes place on a freezer longliner. Longlining is where you lay out a single long line, miles long, and with hooks coming off at regular intervals. So it catches fish by attracting them with bait. The speaker of the poem is part of a scientific field party. They're conducting a survey for black cod, and they're getting lengths, weights, catch rates, age data, which is all really necessary for good management. So the last piece you need to know, sleeper sharks are thought to live up to 1,000 years. They give live births, so their pups gestate within the mother. They're called pups. A group of pups is called a litter, and they gestate for up to 18 years. Okay, maybe I should just go sit down now that I've impressed everybody. Pacific sleeper shark, Somniosus pacificus. The eyeball of the sleeper shark filled both palms. Our lead scientist made me slice it. Bastard should have extracted it herself. The bait plume tracked by our fish, a stink trail this beast had trusted, believing it meant a meal. If believing means much in a shark brain, her senses invested in a faith of sorts. In those brutal behoovings, instinct ignites in cold-blooded and in warm alike. Desires that drive us to be, cravings that goad us to trudge, led her to cross tube-worm plains and muck-rich clam beds, and led her to her death. She'd tangled her tail in our long line and swam against its pull until she drowned, denied breath each time she loaded our gear, taut as a spring, and it dragged her gills backward. I guess her faith failed her. Though such stupid statements sometimes sting skeptics, I say dumb stuff after I taste salt on deck. Salt makes me think I think true things. She was a big girl. Still, under skies vaulted by glaucous-winged gulls, we craned her bulk aboard and no one got hurt. Shrieking hydraulics held. No cable parted to leave one leg sheared an ankle shorter than its sailor's other. That lift leaned us starboard pretty damn hard. For you guys, that would. Leaned us starboard pretty damn hard. She cleared the rail, we rolled back. In bad weather, we'd have hacked off that tail fin to free our gear. Let her sink through a cold, deep as winter. Length and weight, the least data that rigor demands, proved tough. Shorted units on our tape measure screwed us. Thus, we jotted 4 buggered sailors long. Our quartet hosed off black cod tripe, sluicing guts from the hoods of our slickers after we stood back up. While kittiwakes traipsed overhead, stationed to plunge into liquors flushed outboard from the factory discard chute, slurries of blood clots, livers, and gill rakers, we carefully assessed the mass of our brute by the swag method, the scientific wild ass guess. Precise tonnage was 3 point a lot. Metrics depend on the rule a sailor wields to tell how tall a fish story. Each fact must gird lie. True turds and bull turds joined in seamless welds. We could not get our tape under a girth, taught as that fish from myth who pukes up the world, who voids creation as if ending means birth. We cut out and counted the pups that curled in her litter. Each fetal shark well under a meter, 2 kilos, no more. We refurled each specimen for freezing. Our touch tender, we bagged and labeled and nestled each pre-whelp. Years of gestation stowed among data plunder. Then that bastard field party chief made me scoop out her eye. To be fair, our lead scientist, who is an old and dear friend, leaned in and helped. That eyeball was bigger than a closed fist. Cupped in my palms, it glistened thumb to thumb. Our lab would date crystals from the lens and fix her age at 800 years, plus or minus some 200 winters. But right then, we knew we'd struck down an ancient, an act like to strike God dumb, because everything grows slower than muck 1,600 meters deep. My shipmate sighed, stewardship till sea, sick of the whole damn salt chuck. Queasiness can ambush even on a smooth ride. Don't look down for too long. Look to the horizon. Stare out to where the northern fulmar glides before the face of a wave, a squadron of the creatures skimming the tips of their stiff wings to the skin of the sea, their formation wedded to crest, banked down the hollowing trough. Don't let your seasickness take you by surprise. Pause from butchering. Gaze up from the craft of fact. Abyss dwells in a sleeper's eyes. That void seemed to swallow me, a magic trick slighted by my own knife. A glow began to rise in her orb, well below my fins, shaped to lurk amid poverties of sight, my own lustrous black, scythed through black, throwing glints in the dark, hints cast off by my stealthy, iniquitous killing. And light gathered for 800 years glimmered up from my palms. Her vitreous chamber, the lamp that my gloves cradled, weirded lumens, as if the luminous dispelled, as if a rare metal smelted and warded by cold, slow silver, a flow that anneals refractions across epochs. Another bull thought, I think, thinking that thinking it means it's real. Her eyeball plopped in its labeled Ziploc. We shot the deadbolt home on the bait freezer door, secured the deck, and bucked toward Yakutat. Chow in the galley was a rite we endured. Packed in bunks, curled in fart sacks, we braced for sleep. Whitecaps built house high through the night. Darkness bore. A caudal fin scythes slowly and slowly sweeps the body forward. I brace for sleep. Okay, let's wrap up my time. We got beautiful artists waiting in line to get up here. So under no circumstances, do not think of this poem as a prayer. Don't do it. This is called Brass. Behind the jetty, a southwesterly builds. Passage Island heaves through whitecaps. Rose Rock breaks rollers, opens a torn windward side of cold. Seas cudgel shoulders of basalt. Basalt shakes. Behind the jetty, gales whine and guy wires sing. Trolling lines, hard laid from stainless steel yarns, clack, strung slack where salmon vessels moor. Winter stings the little fleet, and keels creak like elders' backs. Taut against cleats, the Vina grinds her rub rail, each hitch squeaks. Her finger of the floating dock grunts as her weight shoves. Cross-nailed strakes laid the shale sky. She lists to port as shale lashes her deck. Small bells sail downwind, chinkling as the dark squalls. Chimes that call from outriggers shivered by gusts. Brass clinched high to hail kings hitting hoochies, tells to Nell cohos wild on the bite. Clinking's crest dwindle, then fail, frail as crew share, as distanced as summer midnight sets 55 fathoms, sweat beaded to dawn, sweat beads wedded to mist. Mixed rain and snow, tyne down. Their gale force dictum gaffs the afternoon, and dusk sinks its black hook. I pace southeast on these docks, blows land abeam my hull, the starboard of my slicker hunched hulk, sleet beaten. That received clatter redeems boot steps I've left in the slush. my imprint fills the southwesterly halls, up, lulled between spells. I bow my hood because the harbor stills. Then the harbor shifts, wind brims from brass bells.
Yeah, man's got away with words, huh? Hey, we're lucky to be in the Liberty Theater in Astoria this weekend, the middle of winter. This place is so great that our next two performers traveled 3,000 miles to get here. Came all the way from Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, Mark Lovewell and Molly. And they have been singing and storytelling for 25 years, maybe more. And Mark ran the Fisherman's column in the local paper for decades. They have been, how long have you guys been playing music together?
Well, not that long, because we just got together. I should use this one too. Okay. We just got together just a little bit after COVID. We found each other in a very wonderful way.
And I heard they just got married, so.
Yay.
Oh, that's him. Okay, I'm here. So can I just say a fun thing? Peter, you just heard Peter. Peter and I worked on the same ship over 20 years ago on George's Bank in the Atlantic Ocean. And now we're appearing one after the other. Is that weird?
Love it.
Is this a small waterfront community?
It's great. It's great.
Come all you young sailormen, listen to me. I'll sing you a song of the fish in the sea. Blowy winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound to the southward, so steady she goes. Now up comes the bluefish, he's a wagging his tail. He flips and he flops and says, time to make sail. Blowy winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound to the southward, so steady she goes. Now up comes the codfish with his chucker head. He's out on the chains, leaving the lead. Blowy winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound to the southward, so steady she goes. Now up comes the fisherman, he's stalwart and grim. He dips his big net in and scoops them all in. Blowy winds westerly, westerly blow. We're bound to the southward, so steady she goes.
That's a nice salty way to start, isn't it? Well, this next song we're going to sing while Mark is setting up, I'll introduce it. It's a song that he wrote a few years back, and it's a story that's really quite familiar in our area, and I'm sure on this coast as well. It's a story of fisherman couples. The fisherman and his wife, that they're very, very well esteemed in the community, and this is a song that Mark wanted to honor them because there's not enough songs about them. So.
Scott, how are we doing over here? Good. Scott is the most important person here tonight. He's our sound man.
That's right.
So they don't write old love songs
We
for
got
old
15
couples.
minutes, honey. We got 15 minutes.
We got 15. They say we got 15.
Yeah, we gotta go.
So anyhow, this is a love song. They don't write them anymore. Fire burns bright in the farmhouse fireplace. Closing the logbook, you start to sing. Fishing boats are iced in, and the snow outside call me. It's a red, late afternoon. I hear a... What do I hear? I hear a church bell ring. There's plenty of good reason to hold this candle up high. It's a way to light your night. We fish together. Time. It's icicle season, tree branches are a-hanging. A smoke trail rises up over the hill. You said goodbye to summer when we tossed that firewood. Time to nestle amid the this candle up high. It's a way to light our night. We fish together for a long old time. We fish together for a long, long time. Your poetry warms me as frost covers the window. Frost on the window by the sea. Wouldn't it be merry if I kissed you again?
Yeah.
Sitting with your blanket and your heart. Sitting with your blanket and your hot cup of tea. There's plenty of good reason to hold this candle up high. It's a way to light our night. We fish together. We fish together for a long, long time. We got time for this?
Yeah, we got time.
All right, this is kind of an introduction to her song, but it's a poem I wrote years ago. You all live in a fishing community, and a fishing community is live and vibrant with people coming to shore and landing their fish, landing their ware, and what a lifestyle that is. And if you've ever been to a coastal community that has no commercial fishermen, they're out there. I know them, I've been them, I've seen them.
So here's a way to acknowledge, to celebrate with this little poem. It's called Thank You to Jimmy Morgan.